All right, we'd like to welcome everyone to today's meeting. This is a public hearing on collective bargaining. Welcome everyone. Here in a minute we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Then we're going to go through a PowerPoint presentation and just give some education background on the process of collective bargaining. And then we'll open it up for public comment after that. Okay? If everyone would rise, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so there are really only three things that we're allowed to bargain. And while many in the room know, if you'll advance the slide, those three things include salary, wages, and fringe benefits, pretty much anything involving money. Anything else, if you'll go forward, we cannot bargain. And there's a whole list, and I could read them, but a lot of people ask for smaller class sizes or ask for other sorts of perks that would certainly make the job more manageable, but again, that's outside of what we do at bargaining, but rather something that they can address through, there's more here you can read, but rather what they address through discussions with the building level administrators and then district discussion. That's what Mr. Huber here to my right has done in the past, and this year we have, thank you, Erica Vogel sitting back there who does that for us. Okay, so school funding, Mr. Markham can explain a little bit.
Yeah, as you may be aware, in January, the state changed how the funding worked as far as what we used to call silos, I guess, where there was a general fund, there was a capital projects fund, a bus replacement fund, a transportation fund, as well as your debt service and pension funds. Well, they reduced that and made the general fund the education fund, and you can see as far as education fund, the things underneath there, it is funded by the state taxes. The state provides us what those monies will be based on our enrollment. It's used for any instruction expenses, including teachers, principals, counselors, media, library staff, aides, paras, class supplies, etc. And it may not be used for non-instructional items. So that is the old general fund, which is now education fund. On the other side of it now is the operations fund, and this is funded by local property taxes. Again, it's used for transportation, bus replacement, capital projects, utilities, superintendent office, business office, human resources, custodial, maintenance, and property insurance. Those used to come out of the old general fund, and those are now out of the operations fund. Again, operations fund items cannot be used for instructional items and cannot be used for bargaining unless a resolution is adopted for the board to transfer a specific amount for bargaining. Just to give you an update kind of where we're at, and this was as of Thursday afternoon, enrollment numbers and how it impacts our education fund. At MES, you can see we had 423 students enrolled. At MIS, 360. At the junior senior high school, 758, for a total of 1541. We had projected an enrollment of around 1571, so we're 30 short. We are funded $5,548 per student for basic support. So when the state put out the initial award amounts for the education fund for the 20 budget season, we were looking at a budget of $10,661,824. If we take away the 30 students that we don't have at this time, we will lose at a minimum $166,440 off of that 10,661 number, which will put us down to 10,95384. So enrollment does dictate to a degree our funding from the state in this, and that 166,440 is a minimum. It could be a little higher depending on what type of student that didn't come back, whether they were an honor student, CTE credit, those type of things can impact the funding as well. And that's just based on the basic support fund. Again, we've got till September 13th for the count date, and so we've got some flexibility where we could gain some additional students or we could even lose some more. So, but that just gives you kind of an idea where we were at on Thursday of last week. So, just shows you how it does impact.
Over the last 10 years, Indiana has really fallen behind as a state in school funding. Indiana last year was 47th in per student school funding, and currently ranks 51st in teacher salary increases over the last 10 years. This is as a state. The average teacher salary has decreased 4.5% after inflation over the last 10 years. And our current biannual budget keeps school funding for public schools, traditional public schools, at pace with the projected inflation. This is an example from Manchester, and again, I want to emphasize that the administration and teachers have worked really hard over the last several years to make some very big strides in our teacher pay. Manchester is near the top for starting salaries in the area. And this is a current example based on the 2010-2011, which was the last contract that I could find at the time. Adjusted for inflation, a year 9 teacher's salary would be $46,107. It's hard to say what a year 9 teacher is because it's not based off years of experience anymore. And we had a period of 5 to 6 years where we were off of a salary schedule and received points-based raises. But one current teacher in year 9 salary was $44,600. So you can see that here at Manchester we have been affected by this already, and that's before you factor in the masters. The masters is significant because that teacher who would have started after the 2010-2011 school year, the first school year, would have been part of the first group that master's pay was not guaranteed, and it was kind of a gamble for several years whether or not you were going to get compensated for getting a master's. So if the teacher were to earn a master's now, they would be eligible for a $3,000 a year stipend after completion. And so you can factor that in and see that it falls even further behind if you factor those into for inflation. And this is our district's done very well, especially compared to several districts in our area. So this goes back to the funding that we receive from the state because we can only spend what we get. You gonna take this one or may I take it? Jody. Okay, so timeline for bargaining. Right now, we can have informal meetings, and then starting September 15th, and now that we have completed the public hearing, we can start our formal meetings. And the process is that we meet and try to come to a tentative agreement. And once there's a tentative agreement, the Teachers Association can proceed with the ratification meeting, but the school board must conduct a public meeting, and this is new this year, at least 72 hours before they can vote to ratify it as well, to adopt the new contract. So that's a new requirement this school year as well, and that kind of puts an extra crunch this year because any school districts that go to the end, November 11th is Veterans Day, and does not count towards the 72 hours. So at the public meeting regarding the contract, there will be an opportunity for public testimony as well. Some other parameters is that there's several agencies you might have heard of, and you're talking about a contract. IRB is the Indiana Education Employment Relations Board, and they review all of the contracts in the state of Indiana for compliance and provide guidance and set the guidelines for much of the bargaining. There are several state laws we've already talked about and some other ones that we have to take into account this year when we bargain. The State Board of Accounts is who corporations must follow the accounting requirements. And then finally, DLGF is the Department of Local Government Finance, who controls local budget appropriations. And So we're looking forward to working together to put together a great contract. And at this time, I think we're ready for any public testimony. If anybody would like to speak, they're welcome to.
If you'd like to speak, just come up to the podium and state your name and make your comments. Thank you.
Jorge Fernandez, Jorge, Fernandez. I just want to assert my confidence in the collective bargaining team for the Manchester Teachers Association. This is a public hearing, but one more thing that the state has put on local districts. But local school districts, school board members are elected in elections. Collected, the union is representative of the teachers that are part of it and vote in it. So it's really a big question of where's what is the concern here that does require the public. I think that any agreement that comes forward will be in the best interest of the school district and of the teachers and of the community. Thank you.
So if anyone else doesn't wish to speak, then we can conclude the hearing, correct?
Yep,
Okay.
meeting is adjourned.
Would you like to say anything, Dr. Drummond?
I would, just really quickly, that, we know where you are at as teachers. We've watched this process and what the state has done, and we absolutely just want to say how much we support all of you, and we would love to pay you what you were worth, which is millions. So, but that's not going to happen. Just know that, we absolutely support you, and but we also know we need to stay fiscally responsible. So please understand that piece of it. And we also need to look at all of our other employees as well. So just know that we're going to try to do the best we can for you, and we support what you do, and we're behind you all the way. So thank you.
Well then,
All right, now we're adjourned. Thank you.
thanks everyone.